So this is a movement session. You're not gonna be, hi Sierra. You're not gonna be looking at the computer. You don't need to be able to see me or anyone else. And the only thing that's important is that you can hear me. So we're gonna take some time to set up your space, your practice space. I will give you some directions. But first of all, make sure that you have your sound in a way that you can comfortably listen. So if that means that you need to switch to a speaker, for example, or to earpods, etc., go ahead and do that now. If your sound is good, that's fine. So now we're going to take a few minutes to create a space where you can practice what we're going to work on. So it needs to be not slippery. You need to ideally have access to a wall and the floor, obviously. If not a wall, then something stable. It could be a sofa. Ideally, even more ideally, a wall and a sofa or an armchair. Something that doesn't slide or move, something that can take your weight and you can be completely secure. So go ahead and take your time to set up this space, and your camera to be showing us this space. So no rush. Take your time to see where you want to be, what kind of space is close to that kind of ideal situation. So you need some floor space, some free floor space, ideally some wall space, or some sort of furniture that is completely stable. And then you can bring soft, warm cushions or blankets to have close by. Then set up your device so that your camera shows us you in this space, and make sure that you can hear me. Also, again, make sure it's not slippery. Especially your floor support, make sure it's not slippery. If you have any big cushions or Pilates balls or oh, perfect sofa there. You can bring them in. Big cushions. Welcome people who are coming in now. There's a description of what we're doing in the chat. So we're leaving the computer, leave the computer, leave the computer. And we're setting up a space where you have a secure, non-slippery surface on your floor, and ideally access also to a wall and or a stable piece of furniture. And then you set up your camera so that we can see you in this space. Make sure you can hear me well and comfortably. And leave the computer. You don't need to see me, you only need to be able to hear me. One last thing before we start. If you have anything in your clothing or jewelry, etc., that is hard or potentially uncomfortable, anything like a belt or uncomfortable trousers, etc., you can also take your time to change or take them off. If you don't need your glasses, also take them off. So we're aiming for as comfortable as possible. Okay. So close the eyes. Wherever you are, just close the eyes. Okay. And keep the eyes closed. You may spend the entire session with the eyes closed. You may not. We shall see. But for now, just sense into what changes because I closed my eyelids. What changes for me just because I closed my eyelids? Sometimes for some people, closing the eyes isn't comfortable. Some people feel dizzy or sick or in some other way insecure. If this is the case for you, you do not have to have your eyes closed. But if you're comfortable with the eyes closed, for now, keep them closed. And I will explain why gradually. But remember that if for whatever reason you become uncomfortable, you can always open the eyelids. Okay, we're going to take some time to create a baseline of comfort, ease, safety, and basic pleasure. This is very personal, very different for each person, body, character, organism. For some people, it's really easy, familiar. For many people, not so simple to prioritize, to optimize my own comfort, my basic state of security and safety, my ease, and my basic pleasure. Basic pleasure being enjoying the touching that happens in and outside my body just because of being. All the micro shifting, sliding, gliding, the micro pressures and the stroking that's happening just because of all of my ingredients moving and touching each other. Many of us have been very well trained to not prioritize these things. And for some of us, it's not so simple. So we're going to take some good time to prioritize comfort. Most of us are very well trained at normalizing discomfort. And this is the baseline that we're setting up for the rest of the session. So this is something I'm proposing you maintain in evolution from now on. Hopefully beyond the session too. Do I even sense my basic need for comfort? Do I recognize discomfort? For example, if there's something uncomfortable about my contact with the ground, or something uncomfortable about my hair or my clothes, do I respond? Or do I endure? So we're going to take our time to gradually bring ourselves into a state where optimizing my comfort is going to be normalized. And again, this is a very personal process. Each of us will do it in a very different way. Maybe I've been trained to sit in a specific way, and this is my habit. But as time passes, I actually realize I'm not comfortable. Do I respond? Do I change my position or do I stay? If my clothes are too tight, do I change that situation? If there's something uncomfortable, for example, there's too much light or I'm cold, what is my tendency? Is my tendency to respond to that sensual information that I am giving myself. For example, that I have the basic need for less light, the basic need for more warmth. So we're going to do the same with ease. Most of us are very well trained, conditioned to put up with difficulty. Am I putting up with some sort of difficulty, even if it's tiny? Is it something that I could potentially change? Do I respond? Maybe there's something about the way my bones are making contact with the surfaces that are supporting me that is difficult. And maybe I catch myself staying in a difficult situation instead of shifting to something easier. And you can take it to extremes, easier and easier. Maybe the way my ankle is ever so slightly difficult and uncomfortable. And this is literally the practice that I'm proposing we do now. Optimizing and prioritizing comfort and ease more and more as each second goes by, putting up with less and less discomfort, difficulty, dis-ease, even with the tiniest things. Like maybe the way that my leg is on my other leg could be nicer, more comfortable, more easy. Am I shifting it or am I staying? The same with my basic sense of security. Most of us are trained not only to endure insecurity, but to normalize insecurity, big and small. For some people, tiny insecurity is completely normalized and it's a general state of being. To the point where I no longer recognize it as an insecurity. For example, sometimes I hold my weight up a little bit off the ground. Creating a general normalized state of insecurity for the body, as it never really lands. Sometimes I hold my stomach a little bit up. Sometimes I hold my armpits closed or my jaw tight. This creates insecurity. The body is constantly receiving a message that something somewhere is wrong. But if I'm used to it, maybe I don't even recognize the sense of insecurity, and maybe I don't respond. Sometimes checking what am I holding is helpful to optimize and prioritize my basic sense of safety. Sometimes I hold my wrists, ankles. Sometimes I hold my face. Sometimes I hold my kneecaps. Sometimes I hold my tongue. Maybe checking what am I holding every now and then is going to be helpful to keep my baseline of optimizing comfort, ease, safety, and basic pleasure. To keep that baseline evolving. Or maybe I already have tricks. Use all of the proposals that you make to yourself to make this work for you. The point of it is not for you to serve the exercise. The point of this is for the exercise to serve you. So you can change it up. Follow your own proposals. Respond to the observations that you're making about yourself and your habits, your automations. And what's happening with basic pleasure? We are, most of us, very well trained at not prioritizing, not optimizing basic physical pleasure. How much am I enjoying the touching and the moving that's happening right now? Am I still putting up with sensations that are not so nice, not enjoyable, even if they're tiny? Take some time to explore, experiment, and play. With responding to information that you give yourself about basic pleasure. Most of us have been very effectively educated to not prioritize this. And in combination with situations like chronic pain or exhaustion, it is very easy to forget the instinct to respond to my basic need for basic pleasure. And because of our training, our education, our various cultures, we may not even recognize pleasure as a basic need. And when I say basic need, I'm talking about survival, staying alive. Maybe I have been so well trained to not acknowledge pleasure, basic pleasure as a basic need for my survival, that I'm not really getting any feedback about this yet. Maybe I am, and maybe it's very clear. Maybe it's normal for me to prioritize basic pleasure. Maybe not at all. So this is the baseline. How is it going for me so far? You may already be observing that the body is making plenty of proposals, and that the communication between me and me is quite clear. If I don't start trying things, exploring, experimenting, and playing, it's not so easy to start prioritizing and optimizing these things. For example, I may be fully enjoying the way material feels, my clothes or my blanket. And instinctively, you may already be focusing into this sensation in order to feed the organism with the pleasure of something so simple. And as we continue, you might find that this simplicity becomes more and more your tool, your trick to actually practically prioritize and optimize your comfort more and more, your ease more and more, your basic state of safety and security and pleasure more and more. And there's always more. This is the baseline for the practice. So whenever you catch yourself doing anything that's even ever so slightly uncomfortable, difficult, insecure, doesn't feel nice in whatever kind of way, make sure you give yourself a couple of seconds extra of observing sensing in and responding. Okay, so next phase. This is the baseline. Most of you are already doing this, each of you in a very personal, individual way. Any movement that comes, see if you can let it move you until the movement runs out. So instead of stopping a movement, big, small, local, global, begin to allow each movement to bring the next movement. For some people, this may mean that you move around in the space quite a lot. For others, not. For some, sometimes moving around the space, sometimes micro motion locally. For some, it may mean you change levels, you come up. There is no end to the examples of how each person might end up moving. And basically, we have no idea. No idea what's going to happen. In general, we have the tendency, and we have been very well trained to organize motion. And now, with this baseline, we're going to take some time to let motion move us as motion wishes. We're going to explore how kinetic force moves me. Where does kinetic force take me? How do I actually move according to my design rather than according to some sort of choreography or kinetic idea? Again, for some people this is easy and familiar. For most of us, not so. Not so easy, not so familiar. And this is where we're going to take good time to allow my biomechanics, my design, my organism, my body to be moved by movement. The baseline we set up remains evolving. And I might end up in some perpetual motion where each movement takes me into the next. And maybe sometimes the kinetic force runs out and I pause. Maybe not. And take your time to allow the most functional of movements, my interaction with my dog, blowing my nose, putting my hat on, fixing my clothes. Every single motion, see if you can let it move you into the next one. Who am I? How do I behave? How do I move when I let movement move me? And the experiment is to get into a state where I have no idea what the next move is going to be. Literally no idea. Absolute uncertainty. But maybe you can already feel it. This uncertainty does not entail insecurity. So we're exploring the physical state of uncertainty in security. I don't know where the movement is going to take me, but I do know that I'm safe. So keep the movement as slow and as small as you need it for it to be safer and safer. If I need to open my eyes in order to feel secure in this uncertainty of not knowing what the next move actually is, go ahead and open your eyes, or you can try both. Sometimes what's needed is for it to all be small. Maybe you've seen these structures or sculptures that they make where they give them one push and then they move for days and nights. There's minimum friction, and the kinetic force just continues passing through them. And if you have a partner in your practice, like a dog, you actually have a privilege of a very uncertain factor to play with. See if you can allow any such factor that you have, other things happening in your space, other creatures interacting with you, objects, to play a part in creating kinetic force to move you. Sound is movement, light is movement, temperature is movement. The electromagnetic field is movement and touch. The effect of gravity and levity on me moves me. There's so much movement in my body, my organs, my liquids. So much electromagnetic movement and touch in my body. A thought can move me literally. An emotion, emotion also. I can be moved. The movement of breath can move me. The movement of my ribs. Swallowing can move me. Blinking can move me. My tongue can move me. Letting my arm fall, my head fall can move me. Letting my heart fall, my womb fall, my shoulder girdle fall can move me. The movement of my lungs can move me. My digestion can move me. The movement of my face can move me. Letting go of my weight more substantially can move me. If I suddenly realize like, oh wow, I'm holding my tailbone, and I explore letting it go, that can move me. It can cause small or big motion. It can set me in motion around my room. It could shift me a little and fade out. So now this perpetual, effortless movement is also my baseline. So maybe you're already noticing that as I gradually allow myself to move physiologically, the logic of my nature, the logic of my design, my movement becomes more and more spirally, twisty, turny, glidey, slippy, slidey. Not so straight, square. Maybe you're feeling it, maybe not. This is because we are designed out of our basic design element is the helix. So when we allow the body to move physiologically according to the logic of its own nature, its own design, the movement is spirally, helixal. There is nothing flat, nothing straight. There is nothing square in the body. So we continue with these two baselines and take some time to sense into who am I? How do I behave with these baselines? The physical state, the physiological state of optimizing and prioritizing my comfort, my ease, my basic state of safety and pleasure, and the baseline of allowing myself to be moved by movement. Playing, exploring, and experimenting with perpetual effortless motion where one movement brings the next and I haven't got a clue what's coming. And maybe maybe I'm already beginning to enjoy the uncertainty. Maybe I'm already beginning to experience the safety and the security, the comfort and the ease, the pleasure of the uncertainty. Maybe I'm creating, allowing a state of trust, basic physiological trust in the support systems that I exist in. Maybe I'm beginning to feel the responsibility I am able to respond consciously, subconsciously, and everything in between. Maybe I'm beginning to sense how able I am to respond to my basic needs. And how this brings safety, comfort, ease, and pleasure in the uncertainty of being moved by movement, being supported by the systems of support of my own biomechanics and the biomechanics of my environment, the floor, the sofa, the wall. If you haven't yet experimented or experienced being moved by movement, try it. It doesn't have to be anything big or risky. Actually, I would not recommend triggering even the slightest sense of insecurity or uncertainty. Insecure uncertainty. But if you haven't yet experienced being moved by movement and not actually knowing where you're going next, you can try the tiniest thing, like letting the arm fall. And instead of stopping the movement, just observing where it goes. See if you can give yourself the taste of this uncertainty of not designing your next move. The uncertainty of being moved and supported by biomechanics. Your biomechanics and the environment's biomechanics. The biomechanics of the air and the light and the sound and the electromagnetic field. And the more tangible and stable support biomechanics of your floor, the cushion, the wall, the chair, the sofa. The biomechanics of how your skull supports your brain, your torso supports your organs, your diaphragm supports your heart and lungs, your eye sockets support your eyeballs, your pelvis supports your lower abdominal organs, the roots of your arms and legs into the torso support your limbs. Your vessels support your blood. How does the water that you are, more than anything, we are water. What kind of a support system is that? More than anything else, we're water. Can I feel the support of the water? What I'm proposing is actually, practically, literally sensing into whether I can feel it. The support of the water that I am. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. This is not an evaluation. It's not a success or a failure. It's a sense practice. Maybe I can feel the support of the water that I am. Maybe not at all. And if you've given yourself even the slightest little taste of perpetual effortless motion that moves you instead of you controlling, designing, deciding, you have maybe felt that without that uncertainty, it's not so easy to feel this basic trust in the biomechanics of me and my environment. Maybe you felt it. And sometimes it feels counterintuitive, mostly because it's not how we've been educated, it's not how we've been trained. We've been trained that I need to be in control in order to feel secure. There needs to be no uncertainty in order to be secure. But what we're checking out here is, does that actually work? What actually happens if I am moved by my biomechanics and the biomechanics of my environment? Just as an experiment, does it feel secure? Can I trust it? Do I trust it? What is the feedback that I'm getting? Not theoretically, not philosophically. What is the feedback that I'm getting now? What does trust in biomechanics even feel like? Do I even recognize it? Do I sensually recognize it? Sometimes we end up not even getting feedback from being supported. Am I getting feedback from being supported? Supported by me? Supported by my environment? Supported by the combination of me and my environment, the combination of the biomechanical functions of me and my environment, and the combinations of the biochemical functions of me and my environment. Am I actually getting feedback from being supported? What does it feel like? What does it feel like for the water that I am to be supported by the biomechanics of my body and the environment that is supporting me right now at the same time, in combination? What does it feel like to be fully affected by gravity rather than holding up off the planet ever so slightly? Am I beginning to therefore feel the full effect of levity? In order for the push away from the center of the planet to affect me fully, I need to be allowing the pull towards the center of the planet fully. And then decompression comes. But am I feeling it? Is it happening? What's the feedback? Am I trusting these support systems? Physically trusting. What am I holding still, maybe? Do I trust the connection of my head to the rest of me? the connection of my arms and my legs to the rest of me. What about trusting the spine? Am I getting feedback from the support? What does it feel like? Sometimes, for some people, it feels like I'm expanding, growing in size in all directions. Sometimes it feels like my ingredients are much more agile and the relationships between them slippery, slidey, and glidey. Sometimes it feels like I'm landing. Sometimes it feels like I am much more aware of how liquid, literally, I am. Again, the list of examples is endless. What is actually happening for me? Take a little bit more time. Most of you are in stillness mostly for a while now. Take a little bit more time. In the stillness or relative stillness that you're in, which you can probably feel is not at all still, everything is moving. No matter how still you may look to the outside eye, everything is moving. And just check if maybe you can sense this micro motion. How effortless and perpetual it is. Self-propelling. For example, the heart is not a pump. Blood self-propels itself. and coordinates with the heart. Maybe you're sensing it, maybe not. Just check. What does it actually feel like? This micro motion, effortless, perpetual, self-propelling. One movement bringing the next, bringing the next, bringing the next. And now each of you, in your own time, check what could I let fall some more. Some of you maybe nothing. Maybe there's nothing that could fall more. But maybe I'm holding my right lung. Or maybe even here, I'm holding ever so slightly my hip or my ring muscles. Or maybe even here I'm holding my jaw. Or the place in between my legs. Or maybe I'm holding my skin ever so slightly. Maybe I'm holding my breath. To what extent am I actually letting everything that I am, all of my ingredients, fall, slip, slide, glide, fully land, and be fully supported by their direct support systems and by their indirect support systems of my body and the support systems of my environment. What could be even more comfortable? What could be even easier? What could feel even safer? And now, ever so slowly and gradually, each of you in their own time, we're going to begin traveling up. Up to being a biped. In order to come up to being a biped, we're going to go through quadruped. Take good time. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, everybody. Even slower. Way slower. I will explain why. And at any point you can go back down. I think I can see all of you. I can't see all of you, but I'm guessing you're all down, or pretty much down. If you're not, you can go back down. And really take your time using the perpetual effortless movement that we've already tried to play with getting up. So, the idea may seem impossible or ridiculous, but let's just try. Is there any way to initiate kinetic force that will gradually bring me up to standing, walking, upright, where each movement literally brings the next and I have no idea what's coming next? It might work, it may not, I may never get up. I may get up a little bit and fall back down. But just try it, and it's interesting. Those of you who obeyed the order and started getting up pretty fast, pretty immediately, check how strong that habit is. We've got plenty of time to play. No rush at all. It might be a complete failure. You may never get up. Let's see if you can practice physiological honesty. If this effortless perpetual motion doesn't actually get you up, try not pretending and just see what happens. You don't have to get up. It's not a success or a failure, good or bad, right or wrong. It's just an experiment. It's research. Is it possible to get up with these baselines that we've been playing with and exploring so far? Optimizing, prioritizing my comfort, more and more comfort, my ease, more and more, not less and less, more and more ease. my basic sense of safety and security more and more. Basic pleasure more. And with this very practical, basic trust that we've been building, remembering, returning to, trust in the logic of my design and my environment's design, in the biomechanics and the biochemistry of me and my environment, can I use effortless perpetual motion to get up? Can I play, experiment, explore, research my way up through quadruped into biped? And that does not mean that we're shifting from quadruped to biped, because we are both. Our biomechanics are a combination of quadruped and biped. What does that feel like? Our culture, most of our cultures and trainings and education encourage us to pretend that we're not quadruped, but we are. What happens when we remember and return to quadruped? If I'm staying in symmetry, I'm using external design. Society, most societies like symmetry, the body not at all. If I'm catching myself sharing my weight 50-50, same. Nice. Nice experimenting. If I'm allowing myself to explore and experiment and play, it's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be very unpredictable and totally uncertain. What does it feel like to give myself a very practical, experiential taste of the order in the chaos and the chaos in the order? And the safety, the security, the comfort, the ease, and the pleasure in the mess. If you catch yourself returning to 50-50 weight distribution and symmetry, see if you can give yourself some more time to play off axis, off balance, out of control, out of order, without going into states of insecurity. See if you can take advantage of the baselines that we've created as actual physiological states. to actually increase your sense of safety and security, comfort, ease, and basic pleasure, to increase your experience of trust and feedback from the support systems. There's nothing straight and symmetrical about it. Can I let things fall? Sometimes we literally forget how. And then we lose the response. Nice landing. The responsibility to land, recover, restore, and evolve. How am I landing? Is it becoming yummier and yummier, my landing? Do I enjoy my landing, my contact with my internal and external support systems? Is it getting juicier and juicier? Or am I still crashing, bumping? The better I land, the more enjoyable it is. When I'm optimizing landing, the body lands the way it's designed to land. So the places and the points of my body that are not designed to land, they don't. I land like cats do. I rebound. I respond. I remember. What does it feel like to be so supported? And have I actually experienced that if I don't let go, I'm not supported? Is that becoming part of my baseline state, physiological state? Or is it still just an idea? Am I experiencing? And she's up. One is up. If you ever get up, continue. This is a very different state of being upright. Continue the research. When I'm sitting or lying down or any of the low levels, I have big support surfaces. When I'm lying down, I have maximum support surface. When I'm standing, I have minimum 1 or 2 feet. Minimum support surfaces. Minimum contact between me and my environment. Very different states. What happens to everything that I've been remembering as the support surfaces and the contact between me and whatever it is that's supporting me at the moment becomes smaller? What changes? Sometimes, for example, I can feel the internal support systems, my body's biomechanics more clearly. The support system for my brain, for my spinal cord, for my water. The support systems for my stomach, my bladder, my intestine. The support systems for the tiny ingredients of my inner ear. The support system for the water of my eyeball. And what about my skin? As I change levels or not, what's changing for me? What's been happening all this time? If I am standing or sitting, whatever level I'm at, see if you can continue experimenting with actually getting up. Continue playing with effortless perpetual motion, experimenting with what kind of kinetic force can actually move me up. Some of you have obviously felt it. It's falling up. No matter what stage of your research and your self-observation you're in, see if you can continue playing with allowing kinetic force to move you so that you're literally in a state where you don't know what's coming next. Maybe you've already experienced it a lot while we've been playing with this. Maybe you haven't at all yet. See if you can give yourself that experience, even a couple of seconds of it. Of being in practical physical safety and security, and at the same time not having a clue what's going on, having no idea what's coming next. What does that feel like? No idea. Utterly safe, utterly clueless. What does it feel like? And see if you can continue beyond the session, which will soon be over, into the rest of your day, night, week, month, life. To maintain this baseline of actually practicing being utterly safe, physiologically creating a state of increasing safety and security, and at the same time being utterly clueless, having no idea what's coming next. Maybe you felt, maybe you've experienced the safety and the comfort, the pleasure and the ease in it. Most of us are trained out of that. Sometimes giving myself a physical experience of it reminds the conscious and the subconscious and everything in between that this is a basic need for survival. And I would suggest not returning to the screen. If you can, do not return to the screen. Maybe because there's a break, you can give yourself some privacy if that's even possible, and digest, explore further. Playing with this, researching, self-observing in privacy is equally or sometimes more important than doing it with guidance and witnesses and feedback, external feedback. So I encourage you to not go back to the screen and to continue playing, exploring and digesting.